Welcome to the call, everybody. It's Monday, 6 p.m. Central Time, January the 2nd, 2023. It has been an odd awakening for the second, I have to say. Um, Unusually, has anybody noticed that like everything's closed? And last year on the second, everything wasn't closed. Does anybody notice that? Like the post office? Anybody notice that out there? Something's going on. Welcome to the call. Welcome to the call. Gotta go ahead and mute everybody coming in. Um, Welcome to the call. Deborah, welcome to the call. All right. We got Jacksonville, Florida. We got Fort Worth, Texas, Chicago, Victoria, Texas. And of course we got Mike Romas. Hey Mike, did you find it yet? Did you get your computer up and running yet?
No, not yet.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's we're gonna go ahead and fire it up. Just go ahead and put a bookmark on that. And when we get in to the Q&A, go ahead and bring that up, man. I'm happy to do that. That's okay. Don't feel like we're going backwards because we're not. Absolutely not. So, want to welcome everybody to the call. Want to welcome all of you guys here on TikTok, out in TikTok land. Good to see you guys. Something is definitely going on. Yeah. Another thing that I noticed today is that all deposits have been moved over a day. I noticed Capital One would not accept payments because I made too many this month, apparently. Just couldn't process them. Something's going on. They're trying to hold on to something. And what we got to do is we got to be ahead of that curve. We don't need to be spectators to our own disaster. We don't need to be so occupied in watching what they're doing that we're not doing anything ourselves. And I think we have a lot of that. I think we have a lot of that going on throughout this whole movement. I mean, you have the ones that are doing it, you have the ones that are trying to do it, and then you have the ones that just wish they were doing it. Those are the three. I don't know. It always ends up with three, but it's true. And they seem to divide themselves into that demographic, and it's very popular. So, those of you guys in TikTok land, if you like to join us on our Uber conference board, feel free to. Feel free to join us at uberconference.com /freedom school. That's uberconference.com /freedom school. Yep. They're moving the furniture around. That's for sure. Truth and Peace 2 over here said that the switch is occurring. Well, somebody's probably getting the switch. And when I was a kid, if you heard somebody was getting the switch, that means everybody would hold their butts in my house. So I'm telling you guys, you probably need to hold your butts too, because this switch is definitely coming. But here's what we need to do. We need to be proactive. We need to understand what's going on around us. And I think that one of the reasons that I guess I came out on TikTok. I mean, I've been teaching for 7 years. And if you'll Google my name, nobody really says anything bad about me because I've not done anybody wrong. I can't say that about all these teachers out there. We can't say that. And we need to be careful. You know, if a person will lie for you, they will lie to you. Okay? I mean that's an old proverb, but most parents tell your kids that all the time. And if not, you should. Because we have a lot of deception in the land. And who is the author of that deception? It's certainly not our creator. So what does that tell you? We're under attack, man. So if you're out here just operating in the normal, acting like nothing's really going on, it's just seeing what's in front of me and that's it, you're deluding yourself. And you're going to be one of those people that's going to suffer. The word is very clear. And it says that when this river Euphrates finishes drying up, some things are going to come out. And they're going to take out a third of the population, this world's population. I'm not talking about just the snobby part of town either. I'm talking about a straight up third dead. Why? Because their bodies are defiled, because they're disobedient, and because they're not heeding the warnings and the birthing signs. So what do? We learn the system at hand. When Israel faced its greatest adversaries through the Old Testament, it leaned upon Yahweh. You know that Israel was one of the last countries in the Middle East to even get a king? Did you know that? They were governing themselves under Torah, and things weren't falling apart. We weren't in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah like we are today. And you know what? We need to make sure that we make the cut. How are we going to make this cut? Listening, watching, and humbling yourself. When you listen to these teachers and they're yelling and screaming and they're prideful and they're acting like they're on top of the world, when in fact they're probably, you know, not. Let's just say that. Okay? That's a delusional person you're dealing with. That's somebody that needs some help. Okay? And it's not doesn't need to come from you. They need supernatural help. You need to pray for them. But you, yourselves, you need to get away from these people. We got a lot of folks that are out running around and they're stirring the pot and they're getting people in this country to defame themselves and they don't even realize that it's happening. If you have a teacher out there that's telling you to expatriate yourself from this country and then thinks that you can come back in and go collect your stuff after you decided you don't want to be here anymore, you're nuts. That's delusional. It makes no sense. I don't care what kind of stories he tells. Jordan Maxwell told a lot of stories, but that fake teacher is dead and he died penniless. No fruits of the spirit. None. He was a deceiver. He knew just enough truth to keep everything on the top shelf. Those of you guys that have kids, siblings, or you remember back when you were a kid, you remember your older brother or sister would always hold that knowledge over you and try to keep you over here? Human nature hasn't changed, guys. So the reason that Israel was so successful and continues to be successful in spite of everything, the reason that they do is because of what they do. Okay? You're right. You can't earn your way to heaven, but your actions tell and determine what kind of person you are. I mean, you certainly wouldn't go, if you knew some guy was a pedophile, you wouldn't be like, hey, let's invite him out to church camp with us. I mean, you wouldn't be doing that. No. Why? Because it's common sense. That's why. So we need to use the same common sense when we're dealing with these teachers out there. Some of these people, they don't have degrees in anything. They haven't done anything. They don't have cases filed. You know, they're all just trying to get Donald Trump back in office, a good majority of them. And you know what? Donald Trump's not going to save you. He's just one man. I'm going to tell you again, he's just one man. And Yeshua is the only man that was sent down here to save you. And that's it. And to save you means to simply do this. It means that we have communion with Yahweh. That means when the SHIT hits the fan in your life, you got stable ground to stand on. And you can count on that word. That's called living on faith, putting that faith into action. And we got a lot of hearers of the word out there. We got a lot of people that are hearing things and they say we're obedient. I have a guy that I talk to almost daily, and he constantly tells me how we're just so much alike, but we're not. We lead two different lives. He serves himself and a little bit of God. I serve the Elohim, our creator, and I know him by name, and he knows me by name. That's a difference between a spectator and a doer. Because we've been spectating and we've been letting people take care of our stuff and take care of things for us for so long, these people that have been taking care of us are taking advantage of us now. Of course, I think it's been going on for a long time. So how do we get it back? We learn. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about discharge. You ever heard the word discharge? You ever notice, and I said this earlier, those of you guys that got on the call earlier today, you ever notice that when you hear the word discharge, it appears in different platforms? For example, before you leave the hospital, you have to discharge. Hey, we have to discharge you first, like you're paralyzed or something and you can't get out. because we haven't discharged you yet. You ever notice that's how they kind of treat you? No. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's talk about another scenario of discharge. When you hear the word discharge and someone's on probation, now that's a completely different platform than being at the hospital. But what does that tell you about that? It tells you we're still discharging. So, does this mean that discharge has lots of meanings, like love? Like I could love you guys, but not being, you know what I mean? Could it be like that? What do you guys think? Well, I'm sorry, I was reading a comment here. Anybody got any thoughts on that? Mike?
HJR 192.
Okay. Hey, that's a good topic to bring up. All right. So HGR 192, people says that all debts have to be discharged. So does that mean that you can be like Kenny Plaster and walk into a room and say, "Hope all debts are discharged under HGR 192, 1933, because I said so. Now do it."
Oh,
This is
you
what
have to
people
have
think.
evidence.
This is what people think. People have been watching way too much Kenneth Copeland. You want to draw 1,000 people somewhere? You guys want to get your viewers up? Lie to people. He'll show up out of nowhere. Why? Because we're curious creatures. We're like raccoons. It's shiny. Let's go see. It looks impossible. Let's go see. You know? What are we doing? Following men. Well, let's go back to discharge. So, like Mike was saying, HGR 192, 1933, which, by the way, that statute has been revised. A lot of people don't know that. It hasn't changed any, it's still the same thing. But here's what people don't understand people don't understand that in order to discharge these things, see, just because the hospital walks in the door or the nurses walk in the door and say, "Okay, Tommy, we're going to be discharging you from the hospital. It's official now," and you don't feel anything, but you have to stay in that one place. Well, what's happening? Well, things are happening that you're not seeing. So when you're like Kenny Plaster and you walk into a place and you demand that all your debts be discharged and you go to court and you tell them that everything must be discharged and you're just not making any sense. Those of you guys that did that in 2022, 2021, 2019, 18, whatever, have you noticed that people look at you crazy when you say that? Here's why. Come on, somebody throw me a bone on this. This is good stuff. Come on now. Here's why. You don't know the process of discharge, but the hospital does. So they come out and they say, "Hey, we're going to discharge you in just a minute, Tommy. Stay right here. Nurse, take the catheter out. We're sending him home." You feel like there's something magical that happens. But see, we get that assumption because we only see one side of the glass, you see. And so when you have a teacher that's talking to you and he's speaking on that one side of the glass, but he can't see further than that, run. Run fast. He's a fool. There's something wrong. You know, the Bible says that a proverb is useless in the mouth of a fool. That means that even if he's got some intelligent stuff to say, and some of them do, you know, that little straight group out there, they like to tell a lot of stories. And you know what? They're pretty entertaining. Very empowering too. But I got somebody else saying SBC. I'm in SBC. But you know that there's even more than one part of that? There's so much more that you're missing. They're not showing you the whole thing. SBC is just one part of the glass, brother. It's just one folder in your filing cabinet. It doesn't make anything magical happen. And here's why. Just like you're at the hospital and they tell you that we're discharging you, you don't see what's going back there in the medical and coding office. You don't see what coding and billing is back there doing. Why do you think coding and billing is there? Coding and billing is there so they can properly code out, put codes, all of the things that you've been administered or whatever happened to you in there, and they have to put them in little codes so the treasury will understand what they mean when they submit them for billing. So that should tell you something. These guys know something that you don't. These guys got a back office that Kenny Plaster and David Straight and the rest of these momos. Oh, let's not forget Chris Hauser. They've got people in the back that those three people don't. And that's why you should run from those people. And you should run fast. Yes. You know why? Because they're only giving you half the story. And they're hoping that you'll stumble on the rest of it and they'll so that they can figure it out. That's called using people. It's dangerous. Had a gentleman call me this week. Took the plates off his car. He's been rolling around Wyoming. Dude, Wyoming is like the least populated state in the country. I'd say your chances are pretty good. You're probably not going to get pulled over. And he said he did, but then the cops would be like, put some tags on your car. And they just let him go because they don't even want to go there with him. Not because he won, it's because of grace. Yeah, they could really bust him. Well, guess what? He went to Idaho and he became the hoe and they became the pimp because then they arrested him and took his car. And none of that stuff worked. He's going to be on the call this next week and he's going to be talking about that. Yeah. And he got that information from a guy that tells a lot of stories, man. Constitutional stories. And let's vote for Trump. It's true. It's true. So what's happening is that these people were out there giving you bad information, just like the kids that were eating the Tide Pods. You remember that? Some idiot put some Tide Pods in his mouth, and then the rest of the kids started doing it. Kenny Pastor is probably one of those kids that put the Tide in his mouth. I think something settled up in there. I'm not sure, but I'm just saying that you need to be careful because even a fool will speak wisdom at some point in time. Even a broken clock is right at least twice a day, unless it's digital, and it's not right at all. So, what are we going to talk about? So, we got this debt and discharge. I'm sorry, we already did debt and discharge. We have a debt and foreclosure coming up on the 6th and the 7th. And let me tell you about this class. Those of you guys that are involved with any kind of court stuff or anything like that, here's why they're beating you. You want to know why none of that voodoo magic is working? Because a lot of times you can have the right law, but the wrong procedure or perspective. So you're administering it in the wrong place. You might be taking aspirin when you should be taking a break. You know what I mean? Metaphorically speaking. So on day one, we're going to be talking about going through your loans. Yeah. Have you ever thought what you would do if your loan was bad? If you had a bad loan, what's a bad loan? Well, that means that the lender hasn't done his part to perfect the process. Maybe he doesn't hold the note. Maybe he doesn't have an application on you. Maybe, lots of maybes. But you know what? In spite of all of those things, I even had a credit. And I'll tell you about this. So day 2 we'll be going through law because I had a credit union that literally did this. Somehow I got a loan with a credit union here in Texas while having an out-of-state driver's license. Weird. And then come to find out they didn't have an application on me. And then the paperwork that they had on me, it wasn't my signature. Like it really wasn't, like at all. Like even my banker said there's no way. And he notarizes stuff for me all the time. So this is a problem. How do you fix that? Equity. Why are you losing your cases out there? You're losing your cases because they're holding the law over here and they're getting you to debate the law. But while they're doing that, they're closing you in equity. They're sending you paperwork and you don't know how to respond to it. You don't know how to speak to it. And because of that, they run process on you. And next thing you know, boom, 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 your kids are gone. Boom, 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 you're paying that ticket. Boom, 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 you're going to jail. Boom, 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 they took your car. Yeah. and then your life falls apart. For what? Some fat guy that wants to tell stories? No. The word is much better than that, and I know you guys out there at TikTok land are way smarter than that. We have a wonderful group of students. We have a private page, and so after anybody takes a class with me, we don't just drop you off at the curb and leave you there and say, "Well, you need to do some more studying." No, we actually stay around. Uh, I have students contact me every single day. I talk to students every day, and and it's my pleasure to do it. So, and it's more educating, but it's also more of a mentoring process even after this is done. Because you can do this debt and foreclosure class and learn how to talk to these people and contract them out and shut them down. Uh-huh. Yeah. And you'll see that I've actually taken cars, houses, all kinds of stuff from banks because of bad contracts. And in this particular class, we're going to go over a scenario where I actually did and where this paperwork interfaced with the local courts. Anybody of those teachers got anything like that? I don't think they do. You know why? Because they're just sitting at home being a bunch of nobodies. That's not going to get it done, you guys. You can't follow a parked car. And I'm not asking you to follow me. Absolutely not. You need to follow Yahweh. You need to just give it all up, man. Just give it up. If you're over 40 years old and you haven't figured it out yet, or if you think you've got it all together, then you know what? Just go on your way. You just you guys up there, just flip me out and just send me on another deal. But for you guys that are listening, and then for you all that want to make an investment in yourself, this is an amazing class. It's a 2-day, 6-hour class. It's going to be on the 6th and the 7th from 6 to 9 p.m. Central Time. This is a full blown workshop. The first night, we're going to do 3 hours of going through paperwork, the scenarios, why they work, and what are the elements, and how do we bind these people? How do we make them stop? I'm going to show you how to be heard. I'm going to show you how to make them listen to you. Why? Because we have a higher jurisdiction. Did you know that? Has anybody told you that these are not your courts? Have they told you guys that? And then what do they tell you in the next breath? Well, here's how you go in and win in those courts, right? But I thought they're not your courts. I thought they were only for commercial people. But here's the missing link. They don't know where to get their justice. They don't know how to do it. The 6th and the 7th, I'm going to show you how to hold court. I'm going to show you how to do it in equity and under the rules of mailbox. And better than that, I'm going to show you my actual court documents, not somebody else's that I put up to do this. Okay. No, you're going to see mine. And I'm going to show you. Absolutely amazing. And what's really weird is how delicate the rules of equity are, but yet how powerful they are all at the same time. Like I said, there's a lot of forces out there. They're the biggest force that we deal with as believers is that spirit of confusion. And Satan is the author of that spirit of confusion. Yahweh is the author of clarity and order. And if you need order in your life, you need to start here. You need to start learning how to live transparently. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show you how this stuff really works. Look, I grew up in organized religion, okay? And it doesn't work for me. It never did. But this equity stuff, once you start figuring out how all this equity works, you'll start reading your New Testament and you're going to see that Yeshua was doing a whole lot more than healing people. He was doing a whole lot more than multiplying bread and fish loaves and doing stuff. I mean, he was really on top of his game. And when you understand the level in which he was speaking to the Pharisees and speaking to his students, you will understand. And I mean, I'm still learning some of this too, but you will understand how powerful these laws of equity are. And you can do anything with equity. If you don't believe me, look at all this stuff that's going on out there, you know? Yeah. And then they got new commercials for them constantly. Let me tell you something, man. Don't do that. You might end up on that 1/3 ticket that gets punched, because the word says that after much rebuke, they're incorruptible. They're broken. They're just broken. They can't be fixed. They're incorruptible. I mean, they're corruptible, and they're just broken. And I mean, and how many corrections does that take? Man, I don't know, but I don't wanna find out either. You? Uh-uh. Look, man, I wanna walk out of this life knowing knowing who my Father in heaven is, number 1, knowing that he's given me victory over every opposition that's come against me. And I'm gonna tell you, boys and girls, I've had some hits. Those of you guys on the Uber Conference channel, you guys know this, but those of you guys out in Facebook or at I'm sorry, in TikTok land out there, man, I've had 2 counties come after me, and I smoked them both. Never spent 1 day in court. How? And it's not all up in the air. This is stuff I teach in my classes. It's not all hidden. It's not like that. Because when people start acting like that and they start acting like, "Oh, we have to hide things," and, "Oh, we need to sign an agreement that says that you won't sue me or do anything to me," that means he's setting you up because he's gonna lie to you. Yeah. You won't have to sign anything in the any contracting like that with me. I'm here to teach you how to contract with the straw man. I'm here to show you how to control that straw man. And tonight, we're talking about the debt and foreclosure class, but we're going to be talking about in that class. There's a form letter that I use, and then I built myself, and it works phenomenally. I can tell you, I think Mike and some other folks way early, long time ago, wiped out a whole bunch of debt just taking my class. So, these are things that we have to know. We have to be able to test those boundaries, because if we don't test those boundaries, hey, don't worry about getting control of your straw man, because they've already got control of your straw man. Huh. So we need to get them back. You need to learn how to use them, America, because you don't know how. Why don't we know how? Because nobody taught us. My parents didn't teach me nothing. Nothing about credit, finances, anything like that. They didn't teach me anything about contracts. They didn't teach me anything about the 3-day rule. They didn't teach me anything about anything other than just shut up, go to work, kill yourself, and make sure you pay all your bills no matter what, and then you'll be a good person. In whose eyes? The world? Credit report? That's the wrong goal, guys. So join us on the 6th and 7th. If you guys want more information on that, go to our webpage. It's House of Yah, communityoutreach.com. That's House of Yah, as in Yahweh, communityoutreach.com. That's YAH. Anyway, go on and check out. I like to interview everyone before they come into the class. So please set an interview with me, and we'll try to get you an interview. And I just want to make sure that you guys have your expectations met. So when you take this class, you can ask all the questions you want. During the interview, it's an hour, man. Feel free to use it. It's cool. It's totally good. Because I just want to make sure that you get every opportunity to ask questions and make sure that, this is the right class for you. Some people are just waking up. Some people are just figuring this out like 2 days ago, and this might be just too big for them. And you know what? If that's you, dude, I am not hating you, man. It's totally cool. I respect that 100%. You know what? You come to us when you're ready. You come to us when you're ready. Those of you guys that are getting these presentments in the mail, like this kind of stuff. You guys get this stupid kind of stuff in the mail? Well, it's all sitting over here in a pile because I got letters to do. And what I'm going to show you how to do is deal with this in equity. So what happens is when people get mad, they always want to throw their hands up and say, "That's it. We're going to sue them." No, no, you're not going to sue them. And nobody's scared. That only works on TV. What we have to learn is how to operate. Hold on a second. What we have to learn how to do is operate within our personas. We need to operate within a contract or agreement. These are the things I'm gonna show you how to do. And then more importantly, I'm gonna show you how to enforce this stuff. I could show you through this process that I foreclosed on a bank, made 6 payments on a car, and had a free and clear title in my hand in 45 days. Any of your teachers can do that? Can they prove it? And I've done it quite a few times. I'm not, but they were bad loans. And these are things that we have to look at. Those of you guys that are learning how to manage your trust out there, you have a responsibility to your trust to scrutinize everything. And guess who cannot be blamed for that? You. So that's how that works, guys. So what we got to do is we've got to find a medium. We've got to find a platform. We've got to find a process. And everybody's lives are a little bit different. Everybody's going to have adjustments. And so I'm going to here to tell you there is no one path that's going to show every person how to do this. The word says very clearly that this path that we're on, this path, the clear path, the one that stays out of all the confusion, stays out of all that, it's a rare, narrow road. Few people travel this road. Few people understand it. But you remember when the soldiers came and spoke to Yeshua, they fell on their faces. That's how strong equity can be. Because see, you're calling on something much greater than just your words. When we went to school, we learned how to spell. Why did we learn how to spell? So that we could cast, so that we could control, so that we could do business. So these are the things that we have to learn. How are you going to manage your trust if you don't know how to control your credit? Did you know that we all have credit buckets? Did you know that people get thrown into these credit buckets based on not their performance, based on your family's performance? Yeah. So if you come from a low income, poverty kind of family, your credit scores and your children's credit scores are going to be affected by that. When I was a kid, you used to hear a lot of housewives, they'd be talking, "Oh, they're encouraging their daughters to marry up. Oh, if you just marry a lawyer. Oh, if you just marry a doctor." Why? Why? Why would you want to do all that? Because they make a bunch of money? Well, lots of people make a bunch of money, but I think it was status. People are trying to improve their status, and this has been going on a long time. This has been going on since the Old Testament and probably sooner than that. So we got to think about this. We got to put this in perspective. I'm going to open up the call for any questions, comments, and also if they're unrelated, if you have students, if you guys have questions out there, feel free to throw them out there. I'm happy to answer them. There's no gatekeepers here. It's totally cool. Just understand that if you really want to learn this process, you got to take the class. It's just a ton of information. Anyway, any questions, comments? Mike, did you find that thing you were talking about? Nope. Okay. So when we see things that come in the mail, what do you guys think about those? Well, it's an offer to contract or it's an offer giving notice. Invite Kenny 74. Kenny, I'm not going to take any live people today, but if you want to ask me a question, you can do it on the bottom there. I don't know, man. Every time I get people here and I try to split the screen or something, I end up with some Asian dude out in Malaysia going, making dumb faces at me. And I'm like, what? And they're just total trolls. So I'm sorry, brother. I'm just not that good with all that stuff. But you know what? If you guys want to go ahead and ask any questions, I'm happy to answer them in TikTok land. Says, let's get started. Wow. I like it. Oh, awesome, Kenny. Let's bring Kenny on then. All right, Kenny, hit that button again. Hit that button on how you do it to come on in, and you can come on. I don't know how to do it, but you hit the button and I'll hit that thing. Anyway, Kenny's got some questions. He says he speaks good English. That's what I'm talking about. Unless it's Kenny Plaster. And if it's Kenny Plaster, he's not going to learn anything tonight. So you might as well go home and go suckle. That's Kenny Plaster, but I don't think it's Kenny Plaster. Kenny Plaster is much younger than this guy. Oh, shoot. Well, let me see if I can figure it out, Kenny. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to do it either, brother. I'm sorry, man. But you know what? Feel free to type it out. Also, hey, if you guys want to, you guys in TikTok land, go to your URL and type in Uber conference /freedom school. I'm sorry, uberconference.com /freedom school, and jump on the old interweb over here and let's figure it out, man. No, it's not Kenny Plaster. Kenny Plaster can't even count to 74, much less be born in 74. I think he was born in like 82 or something. He'd have to be. I mean, I'm just telling you, he's not in that. He's that too much sugar generation, I think. But anyway, I know he's gonna get me dinged now. Oh, he's being hateful. Okay. You know, because taking down the country and poisoning people in the country with nonsense, that's not hateful or brutal or anything like that. But whatever. Yeah, brother. I'm sorry, Kenny. Sorry about that. I'm sorry we can't get you on. I'd love for you to come on through Uber Conference, though, if you want to. You're more than welcome to. Any of you guys out in TikTok land, you're welcome to come on to Uber Conference, ask any questions you'd like. So here's what I want to tell you. And I don't want to give the whole goose away because then it opens up like a whole, then I'm just teaching the class and I'm not going to do that. So, but here's what I am going to tell you. Discharge is a process. It's not something that you say. It's not something that you invoke. It's not the wonderful world of Disney to go, "Ooh," and then everybody does what they're supposed to do. It doesn't work that way. There's a process, okay? For example, when you're at the car dealership, they got a business office upstairs. Oh, all of them do. And they got a whole bunch of girls in there, usually, and they're usually sitting in cubicles, and then they have an office manager in there with them that's kind of the babysitter, and then the comptroller comes by and picks up all the contracts. Now, the work that they have to do in there really only takes like 3 people to do it, but they'll have a whole bunch of people in there to do it to compartmentalize the process. So these girls have no idea what they're doing back there, literally. I mean, you got like one lady that just staples a stack of papers, and then the other one will just check this and this, and then the other one just checks this and this, and it's all real abstract. And they do that so people don't understand. So the girls in there don't understand how to buy themselves new cars. See? So what happens is that's another process of discharge. And just like the medical and coding and billing thing, when they do all that, they've got to meet certain criterias at the dealership so that that security agreement can, number one, perform, and they can't really cash it until after it performs. That means after you make your first payment. That's why some dealerships, if your credit's not good or not so good, they'll ask you to make a payment up front, your first payment like today. Down payment, first payment, you can roll. Why? Because they need performance on that contract. If they've got performance on that contract, doesn't matter what happens between you and the lender, the comptroller can run to the TT&L window or the comptroller's office, the state or county comptroller's office, and then they get all the tags done. And then at the same time, they all securitize all those contracts for deposit. Yeah. You ever notice that? So when you hear these guys talking about discharge, they're missing everything. They're literally missing everything. All they're seeing and reporting about is what you see at the hospital when they say, okay, we're going to discharge you and send you home. Just wait here. Meanwhile, some mysterious things are happening in the air. They're not happening in the air, they're happening down the hall. And that's what they're doing. And they're getting that paperwork ready. because all debts have to be discharged. See, HCR 192. But they don't just discharge themselves, you guys. This is where the author of confusion steps in and starts stirring the pot and confusing so many of you guys out there. I think that, Jonah has got some good information, but he's not there. He hasn't completed it. He's still in the discovery part of all this. He's still trying to figure it all out for everybody so he can save humanity. Let me tell you something. Wisdom comes with humility. And here's what I don't see. When you see wisdom, you should see humility. If you see anything else other than that, it's not wisdom. So if you want to know what I think about Jonah Bay, I don't see any humility in what he does. I see someone that is motivated to do different things than I'm doing. And because of that, he's missing a lot of things. See, humbling yourself gets you to that point. Humbling yourself makes you ready to receive it. You ever try to receive a compliment while you're yelling at your wife? It's hard. And it can't happen. Why? Because you're not ready to receive it. And if she's yelling at you, she's certainly not ready to receive it either. Why? Because you're all puffed up and prideful and your voices are high. Everything's escalating. You're saying things you shouldn't say. Why? Because you're not in control and you're not humble. You're not in control when you're not humble. You're not going to have the fruits of wisdom living and operating within you if you're not humble. And how do we get humble? We live in a refrigerator box and go move out on Gilligan's Island? No. Absolutely not. Get to know your heavenly Father. Get out of that church. Get out of that church. They're lying to you. They've all lied to you. They don't know who my Elohim is. These people are just a bunch of fake storytellers too. These are prideful men. You're not going to get any wisdom from those people. And you can't follow people like that. Even Donald Trump. You can't follow people like that. Because you're going to be headed for disaster. Yeshua sent a whole bunch of pigs off the cliff because of the spirits were unclean. And he sent them off the cliff. They weren't obedient. They didn't even know what Torah was. And that's right. Living Man said something good too. He says, to me, if you're not humble, you're not an honor. Well, it's hard to see if you are or not. Excuse me. It's hard to see if you're in honor or not when you're all puffed up. It's hard to see. It's hard to thank your wife for a wonderful job she did for dinner when you're yelling at her because you can't receive it. And you're not in a position to deliver it. So this foreclosure, this debt and foreclosure, let me tell you about foreclosure. The people that are experiencing foreclosures, and I've been helping people for years with foreclosures. We don't win all of them. Excuse me. But we win most of them. And here's where we do win. We win in equity. Oof. See, and when this happens, there's spirits in here that are telling me to shut up. They don't like what I'm saying. And these people are deceived because they still think that they can pick up the phone and just shout something into existence. That generation is dead. That generation is fruitless. We need to be a generation of doers. We need to be a generation of not just hearers of the word, but doers and actors. So people know how we act. Hey, man, You know what? Ran into a jerk of a driver today. Wasn't thinking I'm wearing this hat on my head. And I wasn't doing my best either. I said things I shouldn't have said. I was justified, but I wasn't not operating within the fruits of the spirit. And this is where this stuff comes easy. What makes it difficult is when we try to do these things without Yahweh. We need him. We need him because his words will abide in us if we abide in him. And if you're looking for the right things to say, if you're looking for the right wisdom to tap into, that's it. Stop talking about Jonah, David. Don't even talk about Tim Dameron. Talk about Yahweh. Talk about what he's doing. Because you know what? I'm just an example, and I'm just somebody that can testify to all the things that he's done is true. That's my gospel, guys. That's all I'm telling you guys. So I want you guys to think about this class that's coming up. You want to master your credit reports? You want to control your straw person? See, part of controlling your straw person is disabling him. The other teachers don't talk about that now, do they? Well, why would we disable him? Well, shoot, why would you expatriate yourself? Talk to me about disabling. No, we would disable him or her so that they're not able to participate in public. For example, have you ever seen a special needs person getting called to jury duty? There's plenty of them driving around out there in cars, commercially and non-commercially, but you never see them coming in. Why? Oh, hun, I'm not hating on anybody, and they are deceived, but our job is to wake them up. Ephesians 5:11 says that we're supposed to expose those things. And that's what I do. And this is what I do every Monday night. I've been doing this for 7 years, man. Praise Yahweh. Because that's what I do. And I've never come down off the air. Not one time. No matter what has happened. And I'm telling you what, man, I've had counties come after me and throw me into jail week after week after week. Just inventing things to keep me locked up. Or trying to. But my Heavenly Father, much greater match than they are. And he opened those doors and he moved those mountains. And for the few people that I had the opportunity to talk with, I prayed with every one of them. I blessed every one of them that was in that jail. Didn't matter how bad I felt. If they want to watch, let them watch. Yes, I'm definitely watching my comments tonight so I don't get flagged for submitting hateful things. Because like I said, overthrowing the government isn't hateful or anything like that. But we got a lot of folks out there all over TikTok talking about all that stuff. So anyway, like I said, so let's give you a scenario. Like somebody that's maybe got their credit going and things are not so good. So you have about 25, 30 lines. If you do this process correctly, and it's a little bit of work, but if you do it properly, you could have that cleared up in like a couple of months. I'm talking about 20 or 30 lines gone. Yeah. Those of you guys that have loans that are out there from other places, did you know that it is illegal for an out of state or a non-registered business to try to collect money in your state? Let me give you an example of that. Ticket cameras. You ever got one of those toll camera tickets in the mail, like in Texas, and then you went back to Kansas and you got home in the mailbox and there it was? Look up whoever's trying to collect. Look up that business name in the Secretary of State office where you live and see if they have a foreign registration statement. If they don't have a foreign registration statement, they can't collect and do business in your state. Did you know that? Come take my class and I'll show you how to put it down. I'll show you how to explain it to these people. And then we'll talk about administrative claims. So, enforcement, very, very, very important and very lacking. So I'm reading Peter's question here. Wait, so they securitize it after your first payment and they get all the money. Oh, brother, they don't just get all the money. So Peter is telling me, so they securitize your, like I was saying, they securitize the security agreement after your first payment because they have performance. They have you 3 days later in the car. So they've got all the parties in agreement in agreement. But here's what they securitize it for. You ready? I'm really about to break your heart tonight. So look at your truth in lending statement. Yeah, from the car that you bought. You know how it tells you, okay, here's your payment, this is your duration of payments, this is how much all 84 payments are at $2,000 a month. This is the grand total, and it shows you that in the far right box. You're like, man, I ain't making that many payments. I'm gonna pay it off sooner. But it shows you that projected amount. That's what they're securitizing the contract for. That amount. Doesn't that make your stomach churn? That's exactly why they want your registration and plates updated in every state. It's because what happens is that and we'll be now I do teach a travel class and we'll talk more about this, but I'll tell you. Um what happens is that once the MSO gets sent up, the the equities are divided on your car. Yeah, or your vehicle, motorhome, whatever. Because what happens is they have legal ownership of your vehicle. That's why you have a certificate of title. And you have what is called equitable ownership, equitable title, might want to call it that. So you have equitable title and the state has legal title. So they want you to register all over the place so they can tell where all the money is. Yep. Oh, it gets even more sinister than that. If you look on your title on your brand new car loan, only on brand new car loans, you'll see that there's a maturity date. So when you pay off your car and the lien holder is removed, they get to securitize that thing too for performance. And it's right there on top. It says maturity date. And that's usually the date that you pay off your car or sooner. hmm Everybody's waiting to get some. That's right. So in the debt and foreclosure class coming up, I'm going to show you how to get ahead of that game. I'm going to show you how to manage your straw person in a way that this kind of stuff won't impact what you're doing anymore. It's not going to hurt you anymore. And you can focus on your relationship with your family and most importantly, with your creator. Those of you guys that don't know his name, you need to learn it. It's not God. And his son's name is not Jesus. I promise you. The whole world is deceived. Somebody said that earlier here on TikTok. Thank you. And that's absolutely correct. The whole world is deceived right now. And we are in the days of Noah. We are in the days of lawlessness. And I don't mean to get all Southern Baptist on you or anything, because I'm certainly not. But what I am telling you is that we need to separate ourselves, you guys out there. You need to separate yourself from these people because they ain't going to make it. They're asleep and they don't know. They have no idea what's coming. But for those of you that have woken up, you know who did it? It didn't come from you. This guy. Your creator woke you up. He scattered us amongst the nations a long time ago. That's why he told Yeshua to go out that's why Yeshua told his disciples to go out into the world and preach the gospel. And that simply means tell the truth, guys, and bring all these people home. Bring these people back to the fold. Teach them how to observe the Torah again. Teach them the feasts. Teach them these things so that we act accordingly, so that our actions are in line with that Bible that you're carrying around. I grew up in a church that didn't do that at all. I grew up in a church that said you could do anything you want. It's okay. That's not true. Our God is a God of order, and he means it. Every bit of it. He doesn't compromise. He doesn't care about your feelings. What he cares about is your obedience and your service to him. A lot of people ask me, how'd you learn all this stuff? I learned who my heavenly Father was. And the word says this very clearly. If you follow him, he'll give you the desires of your heart. I needed to know this. I needed to know this. I needed to know how the system works. This legal system works. They stole my kids, man. I paid a lot of dues to learn this stuff. And I'm doing it today so that I can share it with you guys. So you guys don't have to go through it. And I don't need to talk to a priest. I talk to my heavenly Father myself. That wasn't necessary. That was an unnecessary comment to say. He says, as long as you told the priest. I'm not laughing. Don't speak like that on here. You can go back to your house and pollute your house with that kind of nonsense. But understand at the end of the day, that's why you are where you are. Don't be puffed up and expect to get knowledge. You won't get it. Yahweh will turn those ears off right away. He'll turn off the water. Your lands will run dry. This is what we do. I invite you guys to check out our webpage, houseofyahcommunityoutreach.com. All of your proceeds are shared, or actually they're donated to the House of Yah for these classes. We're not a front pocket ministry. We go out and we help our homeless vets. We help people all over the country with all kinds of stuff, with real cases, real situations everywhere, and we do it from here in Texas. So we appreciate all of the support that we've had all year long. You guys have been all wonderful. Those of you guys out in TikTok, I appreciate you. I appreciate all of the comments that have come in, even the bad ones. It's okay. It's okay. Oh, I'm sorry, brother. Thank you, man. I'm sorry I missed that completely. I apologize. But anyway, see, it's my human side, man. I make mistakes, dude. Join us next week on Monday night at 6 p.m. We're going to be talking about more stuff. We're going to be talking about getting through here. And guys, if you don't ask questions, you won't get the answers that you want. We got some good questions tonight, but I know there's people out there with a lot more questions. Don't be such a chicken. Just ask. The worst thing that's going to happen is I might explain it to you. And I don't know everything. So it may not even be me. It may actually be one of my students that I unmic, and I may just sick him on you. I'm kidding. I'm not going to sick anybody on you. But you know what I mean? But the bottom line is at the end of the day, we want to be able to help you. And most importantly, I want to bless you. I want to bless all of you with this loving kindness that Yahweh has given me, this peace in my heart that Yahweh has given me. And those of you guys that have been following these men and these teachers all year long, inventory your stuff. If it's not working, get it out of your house. If it brings confusion, if you got a guy on there that's cussing and screaming and stuff like that, man, you are not going to get nothing out of that. And you shouldn't have to dig through a garbage can to get your meals anyway. Because that's what you're doing when you put up with that kind of stuff. Don't enable these people. Look, you alone are responsible for you alone. And those of you that take care of your families, those of you that are monitoring and taking care of your trust, you're responsible. Nobody else is going to take the hit up there but you. So you owe it to yourself to study and show yourself approved. Follow this path. Follow Yahweh. Don't follow a man. Don't follow me. I'm just proof that it works, honestly. I want to thank all of you guys for being here tonight. We've had a wonderful call. I hope that we've been able to impact your lives today. I hope that Yahweh will continue to work that work in you and continue to mold you and continue to make you into a place where you can receive this knowledge and so that you can get where you want to get. I want all of you to succeed. I want all of you to learn these processes so this world doesn't take you down. It doesn't have to. You don't have to lose. You can win. And you can do it by telling the truth, being honest, and serving Yahweh. I mean, that takes all the guesswork out of everything. It's easy. So there's no altar calls on this show. We don't do that. And here's why. 1 Thessalonians 4:11 says, make it your own ambition to lead a quiet life, attend your own business, work the hands Yahweh has given you. This is something you do in secret. This is something you do in private. Take that time with Yahweh today. Learn who he is. Call upon his name. Ask him to renew you today. And tomorrow, sir, ma'am, your eyes will be open. I promise you, because that's just the guarantee we have. And it's all good. So I hope that Yahweh blesses your day. We'll see you guys next week, 6 p.m. Central Time. Please bring your questions. I hope that Yahweh blesses you, continues to bless your home and families. Please go through your stuff this year. And if it's garbage, throw it out. Please, for everybody. Be blessed, everyone. Good night.